For a man whose real superpower is that he's insanely wealthy and possibly more than a little obsessed with bats, Bruce Wayne and his alter ego Batman have done really well in standing alongside some of the most powerful beings in the DC comic lineup. You see, it's because he's got a plan for every single villain or potential threat that he's ever met, including having detailed tactics on how to take down his allies should they ever turn on him. However, this wasn't always the case, that kryptonite and some bat smoke were all he had to hand, as over his tenure, he's dabbled in more than a fair few superpowers. So with this in mind, I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 10 superpowers you never knew Batman once had. Number 10. The power of the Green Lantern and Sinestro Corps. As was just established by myself, Batman is a pretty unique superhero, and both his willpower and strong belief in justice make him stand out from many of his fellow members of the Justice League. Of course, the Dark Knight also instills fear in his foes, and it's these qualities which have led him to join the ranks of both the Green Lantern and Sinestro Corps. Those warring, ring-wielding groups couldn't be more different, as Batman's heroic nature is what led him to join the Green Lantern Corps, and it didn't take long for him to embrace the ability to use that ring to terrify Gotham City's greatest criminals. However, his darker nature is what made him an equally good fit for the Sinestro Corps. And like most superheroes, Batman once died, and this led him to being recruited into the undead Black Lanterns, something which resulted in one of the most terrifying, unhinged versions of Bruce Wayne that we've ever seen in the DC universe. Number 9. Batman knows all. There's a good reason that Batman became known as the world's greatest detective, and indeed the upcoming Batman movie also promises to finally explore that in a live-action setting. Bruce Wayne's intelligence makes him a force to be reckoned with, but what would happen if he ended up being pushed beyond the limits of human understanding? Well, that's exactly what happened during the Darkseid War storyline, where Batman took control of the Mobius chair, thereby transforming him from the Dark Knight to God of Knowledge. This Batman knew everything and could answer any question, including some that he had himself. Asking what the true identity of the Joker is, the hero learned that there are, in fact, 3 of them. This was a mind-blowing twist, and one which will be addressed in an event series coming out a little later this year. Regardless, if Batman was scary before, giving him the ability to tap into unparalleled knowledge simply served to make him, well, even more frightening. Number 8. Super Pills. Injustice Gods Among Us was a hit video game that took characters from the DC universe and put them into a kind of Mortal Kombat style setting. In this original tale, Batman and Superman were at war after the Man of Steel, deranged after the destruction of Metropolis at the hands of the Joker, decided to inflict an authoritarian rule over Earth. In a prequel comic book series, it was finally revealed how Batman was able to battle superpowered characters in that game. You see, Lex Luthor created the 5U93R Super Pill with the use of Kryptonian technology, and Batman eventually managed to get his hands on some. Realizing that he needed superpowers for the war to come, he takes this and finds himself with a massive increase in strength, agility, and durability, which puts him on an even par with everyone from Wonder Woman to Aquaman. The combination of his already existing skills and this artificial enhancement meant that in the Injustice universe, Batman was a true force to be reckoned with. Number 7. The Cape Crusader grants some wishes. Now, this might sound like a bit of a wind-up, but no, it really did happen. After confronting a gang of criminals, Batman finds himself in possession of the Larco lamp. After being exposed to it, he undergoes a shocking transformation, which, turns him into a bat genie. Just like the genie from Aladdin, Batman is granted a whole host of powers, including magic, flight, and, as you might expect, the ability to grant wishes. Unfortunately, the Cape Crusader also winds up stuck inside a lamp and is forced to follow his new master's wishes. First, Batman robs the Gotham Mint and later takes down his sidekick Robin with relative ease. Next, the criminal mastermind wishes for the hero to serve as a giant bodyguard so his crew can rob the Gotham Diamond Exchange, but before a third wish can be granted, Batgirl uses the lamp to request Batman's freedom. This was a rare example of Batman being saved by his younger sidekicks, but a rather fun tale nonetheless. Number 6. Echolocation. So Amazo is a robotic villain with a whole host of superpowers, and is actually one of the most formidable villains in the entire DC universe. However, when an Amazo virus was unleashed upon the DC universe, regular people started gaining abilities, and Batman ended up being one of them. Now, while this might sound like a good thing on the surface, the downside was that those infected would eventually lose control and die a horrible death. Eventually, the Justice League managed to save the day, but when Batman did have superpowers, he definitely ended up putting them to good good use. Appropriately for his name, Batman gained Echolocation, a power which blinds him but also means that he can generate sonic blasts and gain a daredevil-like ability to air quotes see the world around him. Now those blasts proved to be immensely powerful, and despite being inexperienced with these abilities, the Dark Knight quickly mastered them and proved that he was capable of successfully unleashing even the weirdest of powers. Number 5. Vampire Batman. When you stop to think about it, Batman and vampirism arguably go hand in hand. The Dark Knight stalks his prey at night and, well, looks a bit like a vampire bat. And in the Vampire Trilogy storyline, those two worlds were finally merged after Bruce Wayne crossed paths with Dracula of all people and learns that he's been feeding on Gotham City's homeless. Bitten, Batman becomes half man, half vampire and takes full advantage of his newfound strength, senses and speed, not to mention swapping his cape for wings which actually allow him to take flight at any time. Eventually, the DC Comics hero did become a full-fledged vampire and Bruce Wayne is declared dead as a result. But on the plus side, in this twisted alternate reality, Batman manages to rid the world of Dracula, gain a whole host of superpowers, and vows to Alfred that while his human alter ego is believed gone, that Gotham City will always have Batman due to his newfound immortal status. So in many ways, becoming a vampire actually made the Caped Crusader an even better superhero. Number 4. The Blackrock symbiote. We're sure you well know about the Venom symbiote in the Marvel universe, but the DC universe's Blackrock symbiote isn't quite as well known. In this case, it turns the victims feral and drives them to madness, instead of just making them share a brain and body with a kind of weird alien co-pilot. So as you might have guessed, Batman was once also infected by this and gained super strength, flight, and energy absorption / projection. But unfortunately, rather than having an other like Eddie Brock does as Venom, this acts more like a virus and turned Bruce Wayne into an unhinged, overpowered monster. Powered up by this symbiote, the Dark Knight ended up coming to blows with Superman and proved to be more than a match for the Man of Steel. In fact, he pushed his fellow member of the Justice League to his very limits and very nearly killed him before being freed from the symbiote's control. Now it resides safely in the Fortress of Solitude, far from Batman's grasp. Number 3. Batman Bewitched. So for some reason or another, Batman got on the wrong side of a sorcerer who put a curse on the hero, which meant that he would die unless he tracked down a dragon and killed it. It was a weird day to say the least, but there's just one small problem. Batman needed to defeat a dragon, and dragons aren't real, so they had to get the Man of Steel to fly to a different solar system and bring an alien dragon back to Earth in order to fight it. What this resulted in was the Caped Crusader beating the dragon, but unfortunately the curse wasn't lifted, and Batman instead started just doing whatever people told him to. When one man requested that he fight City Hall, the Dark Knight took that a little too literally and started punching the building before a fight with Superman, who defeated the dragon before bringing it to Earth, finally freed him. If this all sounds confusing, don't worry, it is. Number 2. Red Death. The Dark Knight's Metal event introduced a whole host of superpowered versions of Batman from alternate realities, but the one that really caught the attention of fans was the Red Death, a villain even more powerful than the DC Universe's Scarlet Speedster, the Flash. On this Bruce Wayne's Earth, the Dark Knight realized that he needed to be faster to save Gotham City and ended up sacrificing Barry Allen's life by combining his Batmobile with the Cosmic Treadmill to merge himself with the fastest man alive. The Red Death's speed force manifests itself as bats, and being attacked by one of these energy forms means that a person turns to dust after being aged through their lives in a matter of nanoseconds. This twisted tale on Batman could also move through time and space, making him one of the most powerful versions of this character that we've ever seen in the pages of any comic book. Unfortunately, while this super-fast Batman initially had good intentions, what he did to the Flash ended up pushing him into madness, so he didn't exactly put these powers to good use. And number 1, giant-sized Batman. As should now have become clear, Batman's early adventures were, well, more than a little bit weird. And this included being turned into a 30-foot giant thanks to an evil scientist's maximizer ray, and the only way that he could restore himself to his regular size was by using a minimizer ray. But along the way in this story, Batman essentially became a human version of Godzilla, causing all sorts of inadvertent destruction to his home and leaving craters in the ground and knocking down buildings as he went. Eventually, he heads to the city's outskirts where he can do no more damage, but soon comes face to face with that evil scientist, and a battle of the Titans ensues after the villain is also abnormally enlarged. Eventually, Robin shows up with the minimizer ray and saves the day, but honestly though, a giant-sized Batman was kind of useless and really won't be missed at all. And there we go, my friends. Those were 10 superpowers that you never knew Batman once had. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know down below what you thought about it, as well as any other choices that you might have had. As always, if you want to chat to me further, you can do so over on Twitter at RetroJ0, and why not do your big bold bad boy a favor and go to Live and Let's Dice. It's my personal gaming channel. Yes, that's right, I've got one, where I do lots of streaming and board games with my friends. It'd be lovely to see you over there. Remember, Live and Let's Dice. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. We detailed today about superpowers that Batman didn't know that he had, and you know what? There is one superpower that sometimes we often overlook, and that is to be kind to ourselves. I know it sounds pretty corny, but trust me, taking a moment to check in with yourself, asking yourself how you are, and knowing when to ask for help with situations that can sometimes be overwhelming is a true gift and a superpower if ever there was one. Be there for yourself as much as your fellow man, especially in these times. As always, I've been Jules, you have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.